Good morning, bedheads. Click. No, I'm not saying buttheads. Yvonne, seriously, look at how cute this is, you guys. Oh my gosh, this came from a subscriber to the channel. Because, okay, if you're new here, hello, welcome. I'm Karen from Ask the Spirit Guides. So, this is Coffee with Karen, and we're just talking about a variety of topics this morning, but so many people hear me saying butt heads, and I'm like, I'm not calling you butt heads, I'm calling you bedheads. You know, we got the whole bedhead thing going on this morning. So Yvonne made me this mug. Yvonne, this was such perfect timing since I bring you Coffee with Karen back. Oh my gosh, so cute. Thank you so much. That is so adorable. This will be cherished forever. I love it so much. And Yvonne, let me read to you guys real quick, just a little tiny story about one of our subscribers, Yvonne. Okay. So this was, I love getting look at this, you guys. It's just so, when do you get handwritten letters anymore? I've been getting them and I love them. I got a postcard from someone telling me about some crystals in somewhere in Milwaukee, up in another little town. Thank you for that. I'm going to do so I got a couple things I want to talk about today. These are, Coffee with Karen is just random stuff, kind of things I've been thinking about for the last couple days. But I also got, Heather, seriously, thank you so much. I got the Dragons book from Diana Cooper and the Oracle deck. So we're going to pull a card from this today, okay, at the end of Coffee with Karen. Heather, seriously, thank you. That is amazing. So in the spirit circle, for those who are in it, we might have to do dragons next after unicorns. We'll see. I know there's so many things we want to read about. I want to read about the Akashic Records, which we will do that one next because some people have already bought that book. So, okay. So let me just tell you a little bit about Yvonne, who is a subscriber to our channel. Yvonne, thank you for your service. Yvonne was a Vietnam War era veteran in the U.S. Navy who will soon be 75 years old. Seriously, thank you for your service. Yvonne was born in St. Cloud, Minnesota, raised in Aurora, Illinois by Bible-thumping religious conservatives, only to be excommunicated by her family because she was too different. Isn't that interesting? I am very familiar with the Midwest way of thinking, so I'm always drawn to those who live in that part of our country, but think and feel much like me. So that's awesome. This is really cute. So she says, although your excursion into Ask the Spirit Guides leaves me a bit baffled, but see, she's still open-minded. I just love that. I love that so much. I'm still charmed enough by your, cute as a bug. That's really sweet to call me cute as a bug personality, to continue being a subscriber to your channel and checking up on your daily activities. Plus, I can add you to my list of reasons I must procrastinate today. Oh my God, I enjoyed that so much. Yvonne, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Okay. So, you guys, I've got just a list of things that I've been thinking about over the last couple days. First of all, I came to realize, speaking similarly to what Yvonne had written about, you know how there's two things in life they always say, there's Lucy. Hi, Luce. There's two things in life that they always say don't talk about, politics and religion. And so what do we talk about? Of course. And, obviously I don't talk about religion, but spirituality, it just cracks me up. It just cracks. All of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what we do in this community is talk about politics and religion, Isn't that funny? The two things we're not supposed to be talking about. No wonder I want to talk about them. Because, anytime you tell me not to do something, right? Oh my goodness. Okay. I did have a thought, about clearing Trump energy from us. I heard this from Sheila. I will post her channel below from Celtic Tarot, I think is her channel. It's not exactly that, but Sheila, if anybody listens to her, she does like remote viewings and all that kind of stuff. Does tarot, obviously. I think her channel is Celtic Tarot or something, with additional words. But like I said, I will list it below. She mentioned the other day that she actually clears herself daily of Trumpism and like the Trump energy and Republican energy. And I thought, oh my gosh, why aren't we doing that? We need to clear ourselves daily of it. So as much as I don't really like paying attention to all his buffoonness, but I feel like I need to, right? There's this like delicate balance, which is something we're going to talk about today. So I am going to put out a clearing today or tomorrow, okay? And watch for it, and then bookmark it so that you can do that clearing as often as you need to, okay? So it's like, yes, we want to keep paying attention to it for those who do. But when it feels too heavy, then you could come in and do that clearing. Okay. So I think that'll be really good. So she mentioned that and I thought, oh my gosh, yes. Sheila, I need to make a note to put her. If I don't make a note of what I promised to put in the description, you guys know sometimes I forget. Okay. So yeah, so watch for that. Don't you guys think that's a good idea, like to do clearings? I almost feel like I need to at least do one once a week for me. I was feeling quite heavy yesterday, 2 days ago and yesterday. Mostly because, and again, when I talk about stuff like this is just like for all of us to kind of reflect on things. It's not for anybody to, you don't need to leave comments in terms of protecting me, I mean, you can if you want to, but that's not what I'm looking for. So like I don't know if you caught the SG video the other day on checking in on Trump's executive orders and like the 300, they're called executive orders plus other things. There's like directives or whatever. I don't know. But it's so interesting because I was so excited about that one because I thought, oh, it's looking at perspective, right? And then, like, of course, I was looking at the 314, I'm just going to call them executive orders, even that's not what they are. But I was looking at those specifically, not at everything else, but at those specifically. Because I just thought my goal for myself is to keep things as much in perspective as possible, because we have to realize that there is not one topic. There's so many different topics that come and go, right? And there's not one topic any of us know the full scope of unless you're like a researcher on that one topic and you have seen all sides of everything. So anyway, so I was just looking at kind of big picture, but there was quite a few what I would consider fear-based comments, which is fine. I'm not dissing those. I get it. People were adding to the conversation, which is really good. But I felt like they were like leaving, well, but he's doing this and he's doing that and he's doing this, And so I felt like that didn't land like that. It didn't land the way that I had intended it to land, which is fine. That happens, when you're putting stuff out there, you got to expect that. But that was hard for me because I thought, oh man, I was trying to give perspective and I feel like I riled, people got kind of riled up about it. And it was like a lot of fear-based. Because like one person said, America's hanging by a thread. And there was part of me like that we need to actually look at that comment, not like picking on that person for leaving it, but I don't know that America's hanging by a thread. And I think when we have those thoughts, and I mean, that's extremely fear-based thought. Is there a lot of crazy crap going on? 1,000%. Am I debunking? I mean, am I like denying that there's a bunch of crazy crap going on? No, I never have. I've been, right out in the front here calling out stuff that I'm seeing, but I don't know that America's hanging by a thread. And although we can look at it this way, I have in the last 8 months become much more aware. Actually, this is probably more of my disgruntledness over the last couple days. I've become much more aware that things are not what I thought they were that I thought they were in terms of our government, okay? The whole thing, the whole system, not just one over the other. The whole system, okay? And as we've talked in the past, F-45, F-47, Dumpy, whatever we want to call them, the Orange Menace, the Melon Felon, he is obviously bringing all of these things to the surface, right? Excuse me. If we don't keep that spiritual aspect in mind, meaning he's bringing all these things to the surface that needed to be brought to the surface in order for America to become better, then maybe we would have gone on for another 100 years with people, the people, and not only that, but mostly people of color, being treated like absolute scum of the earth, okay? If we didn't go through this, maybe we would be spending another 100 years. So in that respect, maybe America, let's just say the old America, is hanging by a thread. So maybe that actually is true. America is hanging by a thread. So let's just examine that for a second. And am I disappointed by that, knowing now as a white privileged person who grew up in middle class, which was then middle class? Now, if we grew up the way I did in the 1970s, 80s, we wouldn't be middle class anymore because of inflation and all that, right? But with my white privilege, now and so anyone here who is white can probably understand now a little bit more about what people of color have experienced in this country, because now we feel like our freedoms are being taken away. Yes, intellectually, I've been to white privilege conferences as part of my working in higher education. I intellectually understood what people of color go through in this country, or people who are not middle class and white. Okay, I'm generalizing, I get it, so don't, it's okay. Like, I'm just giving an example here, okay? I'm not an expert in this, and I'm not trying to cover all angles. But you can add to the conversation, just please be kind about it, okay? So, because I love when people add to the conversation. It's just that, people dig in on like things that, because I missed this point or I missed that point or whatever, So now white people who have had privilege, who can again intellectually understand, intellectually only, now we can emotionally understand it. Not to the degree that people of color have understood it. This is nothing. What we are experiencing now, where it feels threatening, where it feels like our sense of freedom is being taken away by the billionaires, by the powerful, whatever. See, I don't even think they're powerful. I think they're a bunch of weak. I think it's so weak. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, they're not even, no, I don't, that's a whole nother topic. But so I'm not saying that I understand it completely. I mean, there's no way, you can't understand anybody's experience completely unless you're actually in their shoes, right? So we know that. Okay, so I'm not saying that. But in order for us to make some real change, then maybe we do need, our old systems need to be hanging by a thread. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with that because I have faith in us as a people to change, to make this better for everybody. And I'm going to hang on that. I am a very optimistic person. I am not going to apologize for that. I am a glass full, half full, always, until you give me a reason to not believe that about one situation or something. So I think we need to have faith in us as American citizens to do better, to be better, to look at ourselves, our own behavior, especially if you've had white privilege, to look at your white privilege. How has that assisted you? And I know there'll be a bunch of issues. There'll be a bunch of comments probably, saying, I didn't have white privilege, I was poor. No. I'm going to tell you right now, intellectually, unless you've studied this, you don't understand. Unless you've studied white privilege, you don't understand it. Okay? So look it up before you comment, study it a little bit, a lot, before you make, again, add to the conversation, but we don't need snarky comments. I don't do snarky. I do I'm a little snarky, but if people snark at me, I'm going to snark right back. Can't help it. Which is why my sister doesn't want me looking at comments. Anyways, I really don't like looking at comments because then it's hard. But then I get to miss all the beautiful comments too, so that kind of stinks, but let me just put it this way. This is a very basic way to explain white privilege. If you grew up poor as a white person, the same poor as a person of color, you had more privilege than they did. You could walk down the street and not be profiled. That's privilege. Okay? They had to spend their energy thinking about how not to be profiled or how to protect themselves. Okay? You never had to spend that energy. They had to spend part of their lives. Black women have to teach their black sons how to protect themselves from being profiled by the police. White women do not have to teach their white sons how to protect themselves when just taking a walk in the neighborhood. Okay? So that's just one basic example. Okay? So now with ICE, we are feeling like, or if we go out of the country and come back in, even as a white person, we're like, are we going to get stopped and put into a detention center because I have something about Trump on my phone? Now we can start to understand a tiny, tiny bit, not even to the degree at all. So I'm not saying that. But I think, yes, we needed to feel what that feels like so that we can stop doing that. So we can stop supporting that by not saying anything. Okay? So we support things when we don't talk about, let's just say, politics and religion, then, or we ignore it, that it is an issue in whatever, then we are complicit to some degree because we have chosen to ignore it, right? I have to say, I am still challenged by some of the people that I hang out with because they don't want to talk about what's going on in this country. And that really pisses me off. And I am challenged with my friendships in some areas because they don't want to acknowledge, and I'm really challenged by that. So anyways, I didn't know. I love Coffee with Karen because I get on and I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going with something. So That's pretty much the case with anything I do. Okay, so anyways, is America hanging by a thread? I guess it depends on what we're talking about. And are people of color being targeted even worse? Yeah, but it's actually, different population, you know, but it is in our faces now. Well, for some of us, again, some of us are not paying attention. And the people I'm talking about, some of my friends, I mean, they are highly educated, do care about the world. I know they do, but they're just, I mean, I know people are busy. I get it. But I don't feel like at this point, and this is my, again, we're all where we need to be, right? We're all in a place where we need to be, I guess. And maybe we do need some people balancing us out. Everything isn't about politics, right? Um, but it is fascinating. Do you have anybody in your life right now who's like absolutely not paying attention to what's going on? And you're like, okay, if we all did that, like, can you imagine? They're counting on it. They're counting on it. The authoritarian, movement is counting on that because then they'll wake up one day and it'll just be over. Like, okay, now we're being run by authoritarians. I mean, we are, are we? I think we are. But my point of that video I did the other day, which at the end of this video, I'll post it right here. It'll pop up on, how powerful is, it was Trump's 2025 agenda. And it wasn't about Project 2025. It was his agenda, the executive orders and all that. But we are not, when it comes to all of that stuff, we're not hanging by a thread. We're not hanging on by a thread. We have a lot of people in this country who care about it. I did see a quote actually from somebody that legally our lawyers are actually getting quite strong because of this. So there's a lot of really good things going on as well. So I just think we need to watch our fear-based thoughts. Try not to spread them because when people make comments like that, it's just, try to make the comments, I think, just wherever you are in the world, so that it's, you want to keep the light. Like this is the balance between the politics and the religion, in quotes, is keeping the light, right? Keeping the light higher than lower. So I did hear Cryon say in a video that I was watching with him the other day. I will post that below. Cryon is an entity that is channeled by, I don't know the person's name, but I'll post it, okay? You guys will know. I just don't pay attention to all the details like that. But he said, and actually I'm going to do a separate SG video on this week. The light is winning on this planet. He said that. So we are not hanging by a thread. I'm going to trust Cryon to know the big picture, okay, because he sees it from the other realm. And he said light is winning on this planet. And it's probably because so many of us are waking up to the fact that we now are feeling threatened. So people of color needed the white people to wake the F up. If anybody needed to wake up, it was white people, So again, my opinion only. You can have a different opinion. Absolutely. Just please do it with kindness. Share it with kindness because I do love opposing opinions if they're kind, it's just part of the conversation. So that's really good to know that Cryon said light is winning on this planet. I also heard another quote, and sometimes I don't know who I heard this from. So this one I can't really post a video on it. The fastest way to evolution is the rockiest road. The fastest way to evolution is the rockiest road. And if I look at my own life, it kind of feels true. It's like that's when I learn the most is when I'm out of my comfort zone. It's always like get out, that's always that term, like get out of your comfort zone, which, sometimes it's just nice to be in a comfort zone. And I think that's okay. Like I like to be in a comfort zone, and especially like I think that's why maybe a lot of us might be shifting the way we're living right now, because we need part of our lives to be in a comfort zone in order to keep like our nervous systems. We have to take care of our health for sure, because we can't let our nervous systems get so out of whack, which I have done in my life, get so out of whack that then you get ill and then you can't evolve at all because you're dealing with a sickness, right? Or an illness. So we really have to watch that, like our cortisol levels, our, nervous system, our glucose levels, because glucose, what I'm finding for me is the glucose levels can really make me respond to things differently than if my glucose levels are not out of whack. So anyways, but the fastest road to evolution is the rockiest road. That's kind of interesting. So the last comment I thought was really interesting that I got on that one video is that this is a person obviously voted for Trump, and that's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but if they want to comment, because I was going over the 314 executive orders, and I was actually quite thrilled that not many of them had passed. He or she said that I want America to fail. And I'm like, I had to really think about that. I was like, actually, no, I just want Dumpy to fail. I want authoritarianism to fail. I don't want America to fail, but it was interesting that that person perceived it that way, that I want America to fail. And I'm like, everybody, it's so interesting, like what people hear and their perspective, And I'm like, yeah, no, why would I want that? That doesn't make any sense. No, but I do want authoritarianism to fail because, and actually by supporting Trump at this point, you are basically saying you want America to fail, which is very interesting that person put that on me rather than looking at themselves because they're supporting what he's doing. If you're supporting what Trump's doing at this point, then you want America to fail because that's not America. America is not run by authoritarianism. We are not fascists. So that's a complete opposite. That shouldn't even be close to happening in this country. So yeah, kind of interesting stuff, huh? Okay, you guys, well, let's pull from, let's get a message for today. Dragon Oracle. I will post both of these if you guys are interested in getting those and you buy them through our affiliate links. I just have an affiliate link on Amazon if you're still supporting Amazon. We get a very small commission. It just kind of supports our channel and our just work here. We've got 4 of us who are... 2 of us are doing this more on a retirement basis, but 2 of us are not. 2 of us are working, and this is part of their job. So, okay, in terms of making a living, you know what I mean? So we appreciate all the support you guys give us. And even obviously what supports is thumbs up, subscribers, just subscribing to the channel, commenting. I got a card already. I will say the prayer. I've already said it. I was clearing the deck, so I said the prayer, but I'll say it again. I think we might have gotten our card already. I close my aura to all but my higher self, the God consciousness, my guides, guardians, the lead team collective, and only those of the highest and purest light. And ask Archangel Michael to please protect my channel, your channel, our community, the lead team collective, so it is only of the highest and purest light. Amen. Okay, I am going to count on that being our card. I don't have the dowsing rods with me. So because that one really kind of made itself known. In fact, what it did is it popped up and went this way on top. So that one really made itself known. Okay, cool. This is my first dragon card. All right, let's look at the image first. See if you pick up anything. How does that make you feel? Thoughts about it? Is that a key he's holding, he or she? Okay, so do you guys know, apparently, according to Diana Cooper, we all have personal dragons too? So we have, according to all the SG questions that I've done over the last 9 months, okay? We have 2 spirit guides when we are born that come and go, by the way. They come and go depending on what we get, different spirit guides, okay? So you can ask for a spirit guide if you're working on a particular project, okay? It's kind of interesting. We have a guardian angel that is born with us and stays with us. Again, this is just what all the different conversations I've had with the SGs on the channel with you guys. Other people will say different things, and so you just have to go with what resonates with you, okay? So we have a personal guardian angel, we have a personal dragon, and we have a personal unicorn. So those don't change. The unicorn and the dragons don't change. So who knew? We have a lot of support. So hang on to that. You're never alone. None of us are ever alone. So if you're ever feeling lonely, spend some time with your team, your spirit team. Ask your unicorn, like, just spend some time with them, you know? Which is why it might be fun to have, like, I have the unicorn deck now. Somebody had sent me that too. Now, thanks to Heather, I have the dragon deck. Spend some time with those. You know, if you're feeling lonely or you're like, you know, you're never alone. They're always there, and they want you to know that. So, okay. So again, so this is Silver Dragon. Silver Dragon. It says, illuminate your potential with higher light. Illuminate your potential with higher light. Access untapped resources. Look into your soul. See higher possibilities. Okay. So I'll hold this up in a second once I find the Silver Dragon. How do I find these? Oh. Silver Dragon. Okay. So the guidance here is your 5th dimensional soul blueprint contains the keys and codes of your gifts, talents, wisdom, and powers. So the little key there. Much of this is locked away and unused. Receiving this card suggests that it is time for some of this potential to be ignited and brought forward into your life. You are ready to reveal yourself and be who you truly are. Sit quietly and see or sense the shimmering silver dragon who has come to you. Allow it to reflect back to you the hidden aspects of your soul and your higher possibilities. This may or may not be a conscious process, but it will inspire you to express your essence and transform your life. Be ready to develop any gifts or qualities that the dragon draws to your attention. You may surprise yourself. And I don't care what age you are, until the day we decide to transition, we are doing this kind of stuff. We can be doing this kind of stuff. Okay? All right, you guys. Well, I will see you next time. Coffee with Karen. And in the evenings, I'm going to be doing as much as possible. We'll see how often. I'm really loving the astrology combined with the SG message, or the Lead Team Collective messages, the crystal recommendations, spiritual. So we're going to be posting those. That's right, I was going to mention. We're going to start doing 7 p.m. premieres rather than 2 p.m. premieres, okay? Just for now. I'm just testing it out a little bit. So we're going to do 7 p.m. premieres. So if you want to be a part of the chat, then come at the 7 o'clock, okay? If that ends up not being favorable for people who like to be in the chat, then, I mean, we could do a 2 p.m. and a 7 p.m., but I'm not sure I'm going to be posting all those videos. It just depends. You know, I'm just going with the flow of my life. So, all right, you guys, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.